As of the 1st January 2021, the African Union approved the start of trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Many have said that the long-awaited framework presents a chance to defragment the African market, thus enhancing competitiveness and serving as a vehicle to support the achievement of the SDGs. On this particular episode of Doing Business in Rwanda with me, Narengwa Fiona Muthoni, we will take a closer look at how Rwanda is positioning itself to maximize on opportunities that this particular bloc presents. To give context, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement was signed by African countries here in Kigali on the 21st of March 2018, fueling hope and optimism in the potential of an integrated, prosperous, and influential continent. The agreement became effective on the 30th of May 2019, and for it to have entered into force, ratification by 22 African countries was required.
Today, 50 African countries out of 54 out of 55 have signed the agreement, and 34 have ratified it. This is an important step forward on the part of the continent, even though a lot remains still to be done. The benefits to be derived from the AfCFTA are enormous. They are at both macroeconomic and microeconomic levels, with gains for the population, for the state, for the private sector operators, and for consumers. With a market estimated at 1.3 billion consumers today, which should reach 2.5 billion by 2050, the AfCFTA is an opportunity to be seized to significantly boost local production and processing, increase exports, accelerate the processes of economic diversification, industrialization, structural transformation of African economies. The AfCFTA has considerable potential to create decent jobs, increase level of socioeconomic development of countries, promote prosperity for all, and foster sustainable development. With the free movement of goods and people and the liberalization of services, the establishment of the AfCFTA is likely to improve access to inputs and factor production, including skilled labor. Besides, with better access to businesses and financial services from across the continent, both firms and countries will become more competitive. The agreement will encourage greater intra-regional investment, which is supposed to be a quick way to create regional value chains and thereby businesses opportunity for the domestic private sector.
The government of Rwanda has in the past highlighted that trading under the bloc enables businesses in the country to expand while tapping into the rapidly growing markets both within the region as well as throughout the continent. But how prepared is Rwanda to do this?
It is our hope that the business community has understood that the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement really means and is ready to start exporting made in Rwanda products to African countries. It is also an opportunity to secure and source raw materials and inputs from other African state parties, which can support our local manufacturing here in Rwanda. We also recognize that trading under CFTA is not a one-time event, but a complex process that requires time, commitment, and enormous financial and human resources for its success. In particular, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement must facilitate greater trade opportunities for micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, for women and youth, and focus on removing also non-tariff barriers to trade.
Given the fact that Rwanda is among the first signatories of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, so we are very well prepared to that continental market. So we have been having consultation meetings with different stakeholders, including the private sector, the civil society, government institutions. So all of us try to understand and to come out finally with a comprehensive list of products, of services we can consider as priority for this continental market. So by doing so, we managed to get views from all the stakeholders, which means everyone is now part of this this initiative, and everyone is ready to take advantage from the African market for the Continental Free Trade Area.
The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is expected to, number one, create a liberalized market for goods and services. Number two, contribute to the movement of capitals and persons. And finally, to facilitate investment. It lays the foundation for the establishment of a continental customs union, similar to the EAC customs union that we already know. I would like to note that RRA is well equipped and ready to implement this agreement, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. The Rwanda/EAC tariff offer, representing 79% of the EAC common external tariff, was uploaded in Rwanda Electronic Single Window system as of 31st of December 2020, and it has since been operational. We were therefore ready by the very first day of commencement of trading under the AfCFTA agreement.
The Rwanda National Institute of Statistics states that the country's exports to Africa has increased by around 50% over the last 5 years to 160 billion Rwandan francs in 2019, before seeing a decline following the COVID-19 outbreak in 2020. Now, for this upward trend to continue, the country has identified opportunities in several local products that will be used in exports. The CEO of the Private Sector Federation unpacks more.
The areas is mostly in food processing, textile and clothing and manufacturing. I will give an example. Like in the last month of October in COVID, we have already exported about to 3,000 tons of processed food. Not necessarily in Africa, but even in other overseas like UK, mostly in UK and Belgium. Well, it is true that we are in negative position of balance of trade, but we are working very hard every year. There is an improvement, and definitely we are net importers. We are importing a lot from African region. But we are working very hard to do what we can in Rwanda to be able to export in other countries. Definitely, we may not make it in a very short time, but our government is doing its best to encourage, to incentivize investors who are doing investment targeting the exports.
The governments of individual countries under the African Continental Free Trade Area bloc have a responsibility to consciously implement measures that will complement this shift in trade with the objective of achieving a coherence between improved international trade and the sustainable development framework and policies.
So we have different strategies in place to support the manufacturing sector. The incentives can be fiscal incentives or even non-fiscal incentives. So we are providing a reduction of corporate income tax up to 50%, depending on the sector and as well as the activities. For instance, if someone is exporting, let's say, more than 50% of their production, so they are eligible to a number of incentives. So we also have the export processing zone status we are providing to companies mainly exporting more than 80% of their production. So that facility as well is fully dedicated to those companies, to those manufacturers who are manufacturing in Rwanda and selling more than 80% of their products out of the region. So those different support we have put in place. One side that will contribute a lot to strengthen the competitiveness of the companies operating in Rwanda. It will increase their competitiveness in the region, and they will be able to really take advantage from the continental free trade area. But also there are other support or interventions we are doing, like access to finance by working with different partners, by supporting, let's say, local SMEs to meet and interact with international investors. Sometimes those investors, they are coming and buy shares and work together with those SMEs. And at the same time, they are doing a kind of skills transfer, technology transfer.
According to figures from the National Agricultural Export Development Board, in 2020, Rwanda's coffee exports volumes reduced by 6%, while revenues went down by over 11% to about $7.6 million. Moreover, exports in the horticulture sector in the country were also affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We had conversations with some of the players in these sectors to understand the impact that trading under the bloc will have to their business.
We're excited about the opportunity. I think the expectations is that we are going to have access to markets that we originally didn't have access to directly. Coffee obviously is grown in a lot of parts of Africa, but you also do have a lot of countries that don't grow coffee, but yet consume a lot of coffee, especially Northern Africa and Southern Africa, and some part of Western Africa, not a whole lot. But so I think this provides the opportunity for access to markets that would be fantastic for coffee exporters within Rwanda, obviously, and even within the region. So I think it's an exciting time. We hope that we'd be able to logistically be able to access those markets. I think that's potentially where the challenge will be. Confidence is there, and the reason why confidence is there is I think there's just we need to be intelligent in how we access those markets. So Rwanda will not be able to compete on a volume level just because we don't have the volumes that other countries do. But I think we do have quality. And I think strategically that's going to probably be one of the ways to do this is to access these markets from a quality standpoint. So I think that gives us a competitive edge. I think Rwanda being a country that has people that speak English and French, I think really gives us a good advantage to be able to access these markets easily when it's a French-speaking country. It'd be easy for us to communicate when it's an English-speaking country. Also very easy for us to communicate. So I think those are some of the things that work for us. I think Rwanda is also very advanced in its technological advancement in technology. And so being able to find ways to utilize technology, especially in this era that we're operating in, I think having access to technology and being innovative with our technology, I think will also provide us with the competitive advantage that we need to be able to tap into these markets.
This will be beneficial to Africa, as even Rwanda as well. As the person who is in the horticulture sector, what I can say, it will help us in free movement. For example, maybe if there is a product that I have here in Rwanda and in another country they don't have, it will be easier for me to export what I have. And if there is another product that another country they have and in Rwanda we don't have, it will also be easier for us to import that product. I think it will be much easier for Africa, especially to our neighboring country, and also Rwanda will be benefiting into that as getting more movement of different things, and also it will be free taxes, like economic integration whereby corporation, countries, and also what I can say, it will be like we gain more ideas of our sector, as there is another countries who are ahead more than some exporters here in Rwanda. We work hands in hands with the Kenyans. They are ahead of us. They know more about this sector more than us here in Rwanda. But and that made us to work with them. That made us also to have different ideas from them, as our sector is still young.
That brings us to the end of today's episode of Doing Business in Rwanda. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're with me, Naringwa Fiona Muthoni.